I have a new theory that I've been playing around with in my head that I wanted to talk through a bit. And I say new theory, I should address that first. I believe more and more that there's really no new theories. I mean, I guess there's probably some, but very few. When I say I have a new theory, it's really just a new realization for me. Oftentimes, almost always, it's some theory or concept that's already been identified, probably many times over, all sorts of different ways. And I'm just now realizing it. So this may fall into that category. Whenever that happens, though, I struggle between like, yeah, this is obvious, everybody knows this already. I kind of oscillate between that and, hey, this might be super groundbreaking and useful. So I don't know where this sits, but the theory is around that we, as we assess other people in other situations and events that happen, the things that we notice, the things that we call out, the things that we criticize or praise, whatever it is, really anything. When we look at a situation and we assess it and we break it down, and when we're looking at somebody else in some other situation, that is perhaps the best insight you have into how you really think. Saying it another way, we talk about instruments a lot. That when you're formulating beliefs or views, you want to check your instruments because it's tough to trust your own mind because we have so many things going on that we always talk about, biases and blind spots and identity issues, etc. That it's critical to have some external instrument like a fighter pilot would, who doesn't have good visibility. And I would say this concept is maybe the best instrument we have into our own views and psyche and beliefs, etc. Now, again, that might be obvious, right? There's a school of thought that already says something similar to that. That when you criticize others or you put others down, etc., it's really related to some insecurity you have, and it's really about you. I think this goes a step or two further, or a level or two deeper than that, but I could be wrong. What I think happens here is that, again, really in any situation, anytime you're looking at somebody else and analyzing what they did, and you start to formulate views on it or beliefs, or you have some insights around it for that person, that is telling you about you, right? And it works better because, as we know, it's easy to see things in other people. So you have a little bit of that component to it. That it's kind of a safe space. Your mind is somewhat put at ease. So it almost not overrules, but overrides, I guess, the normal functioning of our mind, which is we are very protective of our own identity. When we look at somebody else and how they're acting, our mind is almost tricked into thinking like, oh, okay, this is safe. I can be honest here. I can criticize because it's about that person. So I will, say this or say that or identify these inconvenient truths or bring up these insights that if it were, about myself, I wouldn't go there. So your mind is a little bit tricked into that. But because it's our view, right? It's my view of that situation. Almost by definition, it is run through every filter, every lens, every perspective, every experience, everything I've ever been through. It's running through my mind. And my mind is wired with all the views and insights and inconvenient truths and identity issues, all the stuff, right? That's all baked in there, right? That if you think of it through the math terms that we always talk about, the calculation, the math that's happening as I'm assessing this person or that situation is all being run through the program that I have in my mind. So almost by definition, what it spits out is going to say more about me than it is that person. Because the things I would identify in that situation, the things that my mind would be drawn to, the assumptions I make, the things I'm sensitive to, all of those things speak about me, right? They tell a story about me and what I find most relevant, what I find most upsetting, what I find most exciting, whatever it is. It all ties back to me almost by definition because it's being run through my program, my software. So you have this unique situation where your mind is somewhat exposed. It reduces or lowers the defenses that it would normally have when looking at yourself. But in effect, you are still looking at yourself to some extent. It's just a mechanism for you to gain insight about yourself in a situation. Quick example, just to illustrate. I talked recently about a challenge that I'm doing with my brother, kind of like a mental toughness challenge, and he had to reset on it, right? He messed up one of the aspects of the challenge on a day, so it was a 75-day challenge. He had to start back at day one. When he told me that information and let me know that he had to reset, we spoke for about 20, 25 minutes, and I can go through the catalog of my reactions when he told me, like how I felt when he first told me, upset for him, somewhat shocked and surprised, felt bad for him to an extent, the questions that came into my mind, the thoughts about how, he should handle it and what the risk points are from him or if he tries to do it again. All these things started to formulate in my head as I was assessing his situation and how he was handling it and what he was doing. And that's a great example where, as I reflected on that after the fact, I started to realize that all those things that were coming to my mind were the things that were most relevant for me. They were the fears that I would have if I was in that situation. They were the things that I would be disappointed about. They were the things that I would be excited about or see as an opportunity. It was a perfect insight into how I would respond in that situation. And again, when it was happening live, I wasn't thinking that way directly. I was thinking about, hey, I'm talking to you. I'm telling you, what this means for you and just giving you my input for you. But in reality, it was that lower defense of saying, here's how I think I would handle this. And again, I think it holds true in almost every situation. And it's if you recall, we've talked about the 3 nutrients when you're taking in information, right? If you're reading a book or talking to somebody, whatever it is, there's the first nutrient, which is, just the content, the topic itself. The second nutrient teaches you about the other person, the person delivering the message or writing the book or whatever it is. And the third nutrient teaches you more about yourself, how you react and respond to that message. I think there's a degree of that goes outward, right? As you're putting stuff out there, there's a similar kind of segmentation of how you can assess that. And there's that third nutrient component that tells you stuff about yourself, how you're responding to that stimulus or whatever that situation is. It tells you about yourself in some way.